In this video, I want to take our player and start adding some animations to it. So I want to have a jump animation, and I want him to be able to go left and right and have his legs move. On top of that, when he turns to the left or to the right, I want the animation to play in that direction as well. So I want him to be able to face that way. So in this example, I was using, I believe it was walk, the first frame of walk. Let's go into the scene. We'll take a look. Yeah, this is walk 1. So let's set our animations up for this. I'm going to change default to idle. And there's a few we can use here. I don't have a climb in my game, but once we've set these other animations up, if you want to add this to your game, you should be able to do that, no problem. So we've got a few here. We've got standing. Standing's kind of cool. He looks in the one direction. Front's another one. I kind of like this for the basic idle. A more advanced way might be to work with some sort of combination of front with, stand, and have it flip back and forth. Well, let's just get the basic animation set up. So again, I'll open up my animation sprite. I'm just going to take front. I'm going to drag and drop it in, and then I'll take the other one, make sure it's selected, and delete it. So now I only have this one in here for idle. I'm going to quickly save that. If I come over to my main, we should be able to see it now. Perfect. I'll come back in here. Let's set up the other two animations I want to get going. I want to have a jump. And for this, we have 2 frames, right? Yeah, we just have 1. I'll drag and drop that in. We can see the jump now. And then 1 more animation for walk. And I'll come down. Oh, the swim. I'm getting distracted. Let's just take the walk. I'm going to select both of them, drag and drop them both in. It really doesn't matter which one's first. All right, so we've got idle, walk, and jump. Let's start setting these up. So I got to come into the script. I'm going to come all the way up to the top here. And I'm going to do this inside of physics process. But before I do that, what's going to happen is we need to get a reference to this animated sprite 2D. And every time we want to change the animation, we just tell it which one we want to play. So to get a reference to this, we're going to learn something new. I'm going to use onReady. But before I do that, let me show you the old way we could have did it. We could have did var. I'm going to call it anim. The type animated sprite 2D. And then if I tried to assign this in here, I'm going to get this error. And it tells me that I can't do it because ready hasn't fired off yet. So I could take this, let me cut this down. I could come into ready and say anim equals, and I guess I didn't need all of this. This is perfectly fine, and this will work. But there's a faster way to do it without having to type all these functions and everything else out. And that is to use onReady. And now I can just come in here and say equals $ animated sprite. And it looks like I made it unique. I'm not sure when I did that, but to do it, you can right click and revoke unique or make unique. By making it unique, it caches it a little bit faster for us. So I'm going to come in here. We have to change that. But regardless, we now have it set up. We can just call anim and it knows to grab that. So we'll come down. Let's do the jump first. So anytime I jump, I want to play that animation for the jump. So anim.play. And then all we do is pass in the string of the animation we want. In this case, it's jump. Now, regardless of what type of jump I'm doing, I want it to play that animation. So if I'm doing a full jump or a half jump, I want it to play the jump animation. Which again, is just 1 frame for this sprite, but that's fine. It's enough to show us how to switch. So I'll start this off. I'm standing there. Then when I hit jump, actually, let me stop this here. I'll come back in. And it's complaining because of this indentation here. Okay. Was that the only problem? Let's find out. So I'm going to come in. Now he's in this jump pose all the time, and it's having trouble finding it. Let me come back up here, make sure I've got this set right. And I've got a % out here. There we go. I'm not sure where those quotes came from, but they're gone now. Now, he's always in that jump position. That's not what we want. We want him to start off in the idle position. So I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom here where we're looking for the direction. And under the else, I want to add the idle animation. Now we could set this up inside of ready, but I'd rather just put it here. And again, our idle animation was just called idle. I'll save this off. Let's run this. We now have idle. And when we jump, there we go. Now take note, if I just jump straight up and down, he keeps the idle and he just jumps regardless of whether it's a big jump or a short jump. I think I kind of like that. I'm not sure if I want to have it go into this jump where he looks in one direction. I think if he's just straight up or jumping up and down, I think I'm going to keep this one. But let's get the walking one working now. So we'll come back into here. And if we take a look at direction, this is a line of code that came to us from the default script when we added it to the character body 2D. It's not typed. Now I know it's an int, but if you didn't know, remember we could always hit Control, click on the method, and it'll open up the documentation for us here. And we can see that's a float. So I'm going to come back into Player. And I like to type all my variables so I don't have to remember exactly what's returned. And there's also a performance issue as well. It's small, but it could add up, right? Now, if you don't know what values you're getting out of here, we could always print direction. Now, I already know if I'm moving to the right, it's a 1. If I'm standing still, it's 0. If I move to the right, it's a -1. But if you didn't know, we could print it out. And we can see I'm standing still, 0. When I move to the right, 1. When I move to the left, -1. We can work with that a little bit later. So I'm going to get rid of the print. And then under the velocity, I'm going to say anim.play. And I want to play the walk. We'll run this here. Make sure to save. Run. And if I'm standing here, he's fine. If I jump, he's fine. If I jump while moving, well, first off, let's do the walk. I don't have him flipping the other way. We'll work on that in a second. But also notice when I jump, he's no longer doing the jump animation. He's doing the walking animation in the air. I don't want that either. Let's stop it. Let's work on the flipping left and right. So again, what I mean by flip is if I come back to the 2D, see how he's facing this way? I don't have a sprite where he's facing the other way, but I don't need it because I can use this one here. And there's a flip function we can use, which will just literally take the flip or the sprite and flip it to face the other direction. And all we have to do for that is I'm going to come into walk. I'm going to make an if block here. So I'll say if direction is greater than 0, that means it's positive. I'm going to grab that anim dot flip, and we want to flip on the horizontal. I'm going to set this to equal false because by default, it automatically faces to the right. So I'm good there. But I can do an else, and I can say anim dot flip h equals true. This is for when he's facing the other way, so a -1. And actually, we got to do an elif. So elif direction is less than 0. There we go. So quickly go over this again. So if the direction is greater than 0, so we're getting the 1, that means we want to make sure that our sprite is facing to the right. If it's less than 0, means it's a negative. We want to make sure it's facing to the left. So we got to flip it. Let's quickly save this off. We'll run it. And sure enough, he faces that way. I'm going to stop. He goes back to this. And if I go this way, he faces it. So we got the flips going. Now we got to jump. We still got to play around with the speeds. The handling isn't the greatest, but that's fine. We've got the value set up. We just got to play with it. So let's work with the jump. I don't want it to play if we're not on the ground. So that's right here. What I'll do is make one more if. I'll say if is on floor, then I'll play that animation. So this animation, my walk animation, only plays if we're on the floor. That's not quite it, because if we run it again, it's still going to play in the air. Even though we expressly said, hey, only play this animation if I'm on the ground. And the reason for that is we want to come and take our jump. Those two functions here. I'm going to cut it. And right before move and slide, paste it in here. This is probably about the easiest way to fix it. Fire this back up. Now he doesn't do it in the air. We got to make the jump animation play after. So here we go. Now we can jump over and the animation plays properly. So here we go. This is our intro to animating our character with the sprites that we have. Maybe later on we can go out and find something a little bit more advanced for the character, make some better animations. But anyway, as always, if you got any comments, let me know down below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.